we have assessed is not only the oil disaster, but we wanted to have an overview of all the pressures that are hitting the Vjosë, and that are more than 2 years after the establishment of the Wild River National Park not solved. On the contrary, many of them got worse. So there is not only the oil. The oil is the most catchy one, and really maybe the craziest one. But there is enormous amount of water abstraction from the river, enormous, and that's a growing one. There's still gravel taking out of the riverbed, and you have the bitumen fill and depositing in Selenica near where you are. Plastic, other, urban waste, all of these things are still there. So the oil, and we have this report, and Eco Albania published it, and then we are going to go more in depth in all these things because it needs solutions. Solutions that are normally in the management plan of the Vjosë. So the government has adopted this management plan for Vjosë. And for example, there is standing no more gravel excavation from the riverbed. No? But they're still doing it. Of course, the oil wasn't known then, but that goes without saying, that you should not lead direct oil into the, that's bullshit, no? In the end. So there's all these management plan there, but we don't have any sign that this management plan is being implemented or followed now, for now. No? Coming to the oil, I'm in the Vjosë base I think the first time 2013 or 12, I can't remember. No? And I remember few years later, I saw near Pochem these patches of oil on the gravel banks. I said, what the hell is this? And then I was there with Olsi and Bessie, and they were saying, yeah, that's coming from the oil fields. And then Balkan Rivers Insight, they made this report about it. I wasn't aware of the dimension. I wasn't aware that it's still ongoing. Yeah. And when my colleague Josh went to the area 4 weeks ago or something like that, he went there with a drone, and he sent us this. He basically said, what is this? And then I was there last week, and we both went there, and you can see everything. You can go to the place where they have these oil ponds. It looks like ponds of oil, crude oil, this thick oil, and there's a lot of trucks coming over the bridge of Pochem, a queue of trucks. And I don't know where they go, probably to refineries. I don't know if you have in Florida an oil refinery or something. And then we went by foot to the mouth of this little stream, this canal, into the Vjosë, and then you must go there. I think also for you, it changes your view. Even if you know it, even if you have seen photos, to stand there and to see it and to smell it, you get headaches after 10, 15, 20 minutes because it's still evaporating, the oil, and see the dead things. It's unbelievable. And you think to yourself, hey, the government is aware of that, for sure. If you read the article from Balkan Insight, they were by then with Alp Petrol, but they haven't done anything, and they kept their eyes shut. So this is, if they don't solve this one, that is a bad indicator. So they seem that they're just promoting so far, from my view, the national park to attract tourism. Environmental friendly Albania is come to the beautiful and environmental friendly Albania. That is for sure not true. all the disasters I know from the South Coast, Green Coast, you know better than I do. But the oil disaster is on top of this. I'm not aware of any area in Europe where this happens, and for sure not inside a national park. You know, and Albania wants to join the EU. They have to get it. You know, they have to close it now. And on the other hand, if there is still Alp Petrol, or Petrol, what you call it, is in charge, and you read that article, and in 2018, they just bought this area of drilling, and they had the report and saying, oh, everything is bad. They have to change it to restore it, and they haven't done it. So they're making money by killing and destroying and polluting the landscape. It's difficult to quantify, but what is clear is that on the one hand, it pollutes not only the surface, but the groundwater in the basin. You know, when it comes from the mountains are polluted. If you go up there, where they have these ponds, it looks like the roast belt in Detroit. Everything is roasted, it's kaput. You know, there's the containers destroyed, old machines destroyed, pipelines destroyed, they're leaking, oil is flowing everywhere. It's crazy. People working there, friendly, very friendly. And then it's going into the underground, polluting the groundwater. That's one thing. The second is, this little river is like an iron curtain, or like an oil curtain, to all animals that either touch it or they can't cross. So the snake we found, the dead snake, tried to cross it. They can't. They die immediately. And there's a guy living there. He said there's also the dead birds. As soon as you touch it, you can't get out anymore. It's not oily. It's not like liquid, fluid, water. It's like bitumen a little bit, you know. I walked into it, and I tried to get out again. It holds you, you know? So it's like a barrier that you cannot cross. So if you are a fox or what do you call it in lepur in Albanian, the rabbit, yeah, things like that cannot fly, mouse, things, they can't cross it. They can't go from one place to the other. They die. It's a big killing trap. You know? Yeah. That's one thing. The other thing, the third one is, of course, it pollutes the Vjosë. So this is constantly flowing into the Vjosë, and it goes to, you know, Selenica region, and there you have the bitumen. There's again, they're depositing the bitumen parts right into the national park so far. And the Vjosë, when it has a high water, it erodes this away and puts it into the water. So I think the pollution is enormous in the Vjosë, and it is a health problem for the people who live along, who eat the fish. You know, there was a fishing hut 10 meters below the oil river in the Vjosë. They're catching the fish there. You know, they're polluted, these fish. It's accumulating in the bodies of the people, of course, in the bodies of all the animals, and it goes until the Adriatic Sea. You know, this oil in these quantities is like a big oil leakage. You know, it's constantly growing. Imagine you would have a pipeline that constantly brings oil into a river. You know that. I have a very good overview about rivers in Europe, you know, because I do that all my life, basically. And the Vjosë is extraordinary in this context. There, especially for two reasons. The one is the Vjosë is still the architect of the valley. So, you know, Tepelena or downstream, you see the gravel banks, and it's shifting, it's moving. And you have the tributaries that are also not blocked. Most of them are not, like Shushitsa, Bencha, Drinos, Kardic, so on. So this is a living thing, actually, living animal. So international, it is valid to have the highest standard of protection, and this is true. And therefore, it's good that it became the first wild river national park in Europe. You know, that's a good move. It's a good step. But so far, it's only on paper. You know, it's written on paper that you blah, 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 blah. So now the next job is to really live it. You know, to not only use it as an attraction to make money, you know, to milk, to bring more and more tourists who have no clue what they see so far, because you drive there with your van and then you see, I don't know, vast gravel banks or something. But to really protect it in the most appropriate way, the management plan. But what we, as I said, and that's why we decided to do this pressure study. What we're seeing in the last years, that none of the, or almost none of the crucial pressures are really touched and managed. Beside the dams are gone, but there is more threats and pressures to the Vjosë. And beside this pollution that comes from the oil and the bitumen, there's also that more and more people live or come to the region, like Gjirokastra, Permed, Kalzura, you know, Jumemalia, Tippelen, you know, all this. And that's wastewater problem. So there's also, our scientists already found colibacteria that are in the river, you know, and especially, and here's the second point, because the Vjosë is much smaller than in the past because of, of water diversion. So everywhere, including Greece and in Albania, more and more water is abstracted to irrigate fields. And that means in the end, there's less water in the Vjosë, or, you know, and that means if there's more pollution coming, but less water in the river, it means more pollution. You know, it's more, you know, it's not mixed so good. The mix is not good. So that's really a problem. And for me, what I saw last week, I was really shocked also. For example, the Shushitsa did not reach the Vjosë anymore in June, you know, and it was last week. It was like 17th of June or something, while the cornfields and other fields around were completely flooded. They looked like in China, the rice paddy fields, you know, and that is such an outdated and crazy, inefficient way of irrigation, you know, and I think because it's so hot, the people start earlier to irrigate. That is harming the nature, you know. So these things have to be solved. Some of them are not to be solved like this. You know, you can't go there and say, now you stop the oil, now you stop the irrigation. It needs an assessment how to deal with the different problems. You know? But this has to start. And I think there are things that are completely clear, like the oil, that has to stop. You know, they have to stop the drilling there. They have to stop this whole management, and they have to restore this little river for 1.5 kilometers. I think they have to dredge it, you know, and then deposit the polluted things somewhere. I wonder where they would deposit it. You know, it's an extraordinary poisoning thing. So you have to have it someplace safe, and then restore the whole thing. It needs time and quality of planning, but when you would go there and show it to your people, I think that would change your mindset as well. And there was the top channel went there on Friday. We were just on the way back, so they went there, and I think it's tomorrow in the evening in the media, and they you know, about the pressures and the oil. And I'm sure they made it to the mouth, and I'm sure that changed their whole view, because they've been before at the source where the crude oil was in the pool. But that's not so, it's impressive, but to be where it meets the Vjosë, and you see the rainbow colors and the oil patches flowing down in the Vjosë. Different. So far, the establishment of the national park, as well as the communication in the last 2 years, was always a mix of national and international organizations. No? There was Patagonia involved. It was the IUCN with Kumbaro on the national side, and Patagonia IUCN plus NGOs. We also always offered support, but more and more our support was not welcomed anymore. You know, there has been a change, my perspective, and that's fine. I mean, I'm not arguing against it, but I want to see things done. You know, whoever does what, and when they ask for international support, they would get it immediately. You know, that's not a question, because also internationally the Vjosë is famous now. Yeah, so, and if you say we need help, for example, how to restore this oil river thing, or we need help to develop a plan to reduce water obstruction, that's a good would be a good first step, no? And that I'm sure there would be universities and people coming together with Albanian scientists. That's not magic, no? But so I think, yes, there would be the will for international support, for sure. It always was like that. But there needs to be, the first step has to come from the Albanian government. When the thing is really stopped, and also in the groundwater, because I think next to this oily river, there's already, it's not only the visible one, what you see, it has filtered into the ground. You know, you dredge it away. I think it would go, I'm not an expert in this question, but my understanding of river ecosystems and the system of Vjosë, it can go quick. In the moment you stop it maybe after a big flood and a little bit more years, even the groundwater would be cleaning enough. But I'm a bit optimistic. But the Vjosë itself would be cleaner, but the groundwater might take a bit longer. On the one hand, it's a personal, I mean, I know the Vjosë now for 13 years, 12, 13 years, and I'm in average, I think I was per year, 4 or 5 weeks on the Vjosë per year, easy, maybe more. And so I kind of, and I have my history, you know, when I came there was Francesco Becchetti in Kalivac building the dam. And then we developed the vision of stopping all the dams and seeing the Vjosë for the first time in my life. I was really amazed. I did not know that something like Vjosë still exists, at least in this part of Europe. I mean, there is still in the very north of Europe, in northern Sweden, Lapland, and in the very east, Ukraine and Belarus and near Moscow, there's still nice big rivers, but not in our area, so close to the Mediterranean. You know, and this vastness is crazy. And that's really what I think is special also to me. There's some other rivers that look like that, like Tagliamento in Italy, but they're not in this size, and not in this intactness. You know, this whole system is still working with the tributaries, with the rivers that run into the Vjosë. It's a living being, actually. It's one of the last living beings, and that's what we're filming last week for Germany and the Austrian broadcasting system in English also. And they were asking the question, what is a river? And on the example of the Vjosë, they're trying to answer that. The Vjosë is what you call Shushitsa, for example, or lumiflores, is actually the Vjosë. The Böncha with the Nevice Canyon is the Vjosë. From a river's perspective, they have no idea we give it separate names. it's in our mindset. We like to separate things and then we call it names and stuff. So this is a really special river, and that's why we need to continue to fight, because the fight is not over, to have it really sustainably protected. Otherwise, we celebrate something while the pressures are increasing and more tourists are coming and would pressure the river. The more tourists are coming now without a proper management. They would pollute it, the river, because no sewage system. There would be more waste coming because of all the plastic, And what they do is, then they would rent boats. They would go on the river and disturb birds that nests on the islands. So we need to have a very good management with a national park director, with a big team that protects this river. But that's not existing.